Okay, on to passage 3, reducing the effects of climate change. I just want to quickly say, let's see what we've got here. This is slightly difficult, but there's only 3 of them. We've got another gapful and then statements to people. This was actually quite an easy test. If you look at all 3 of them, this was reading 2 and they had true, false, not given and a diagram. And this was reading 1 and they had more gap fill, complete the sentences, and true, false, not given. So this test, if you look at reading 3, I was expecting matching headings or multiple choice. Didn't have matching headings, didn't have multiple choice. And that makes this a very easy test. Mainly because reading 1 and reading 2 were quite easy, and so I was expecting reading 3 to be very difficult, but there's a lot of marks here that you can get. So it confuses me about IELTS. Sometimes the tests are easy, sometimes the tests are impossible. Maybe you need to get lucky with a good test. Who knows? Anyway, let's start with this. So we're going to do that last. That's very difficult. Probably do this first and do this second. What do we do first? Scan, scan, scan. I would scan for that. What else? What else would you scan for? Things with capital letters are great. I would find those 3 first before you do anything. So, scan for Earth, Greenland. There's Earth there and there. Arctic, was Arctic? Did we need to scan for Arctic? Russian Arctic, yeah, possibly. Greenland is there. But there I see Russian Arctic, so it's probably that one. I think I'm quite sure about that, so I'll even take that one out. Alright, so now we've got a rough idea where this comes from. It's looking like what? Paragraph B, C, and D. Let's just confirm. A good idea would be to try and find this. There's nothing really there. Cold water, ice-forming areas. I'm guessing end of paragraph D. And yes, cold water, ice-forming areas. Alright. So let's look at the first one. In this one, unfortunately, the grammar did not help us much. That we know is a countable singular, but all of the rest of them could be not countable singular, but they could be countable plural or uncountable. So it helps us a little bit in that we know whether we're looking for countable singular or not, but with these it could be countable plural or uncountable. Great. So we're looking for tiny spacecraft. Large numbers, a nice one to look for. Tiny spacecraft. Reduce amount of light reaching the Earth. We're somewhere over here. It's really straightforward. Reduce amount of light reaching the Earth. This is reading 1 level of difficulty. I'm very surprised this is a reading 3. So what they're testing here is this word. What will reduce the amount of light reaching the Earth? Let's find large number. There's large number. Tiny, what did they say? Tiny spacecraft. This is actually, I know you know this word as minute, but if you pronounce it differently, if you say minute, it means very small. So there it is. And we want a singular countable noun because we have over there. What are we creating? What is this? Transparent, sunlight refracting, sunshade. So that's the singular countable noun. That this is talking about that word over there, so that's our answer. Alright, put something in the sea to encourage something to form. I would scan for something about sea. These are general words, they can paraphrase them, they're kind of academic words. Sea, 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 sea. Can you see the sea? There it is there. Keep on looking a bit because it could be, that could be sea, and that's oceans again. Anyway. We want to place, that means put something in the sea. Why do we want to do it? To encourage something to form. We're not looking for single countables. In the sea is there. In the sea, in the ocean. This means to deposit, means to place, to put. Uncountable noun, iron. Really straightforward. And there is our infinitive. To stimulate. To encourage, fine, to form. What do we want to form? The growth, that is to form, and that's what we're looking for, that's what we want to form. Even if you don't know what that is, you can choose it. Iron and algae. So there's not really much I can teach you about this. It was just a matter of scanning. It's very straightforward. Scanning, make sure, check the grammar, and then find the answer. Aerosol, let's find aerosol. Stratosphere. Aerosol. Stratosphere. Alright, so what are we looking for? Why do we release the aerosol into the stratosphere? To create something that would reduce the amount of light reaching the Earth. Alright, so we're looking for countable plural, or uncountable. Could be that, countable plural. Won't be that because that's in the question. It won't be that because we want one word. You can't separate sulfur dioxide. That's very interesting. Plural countable. That's the only one around here. But can you find less light reaching the Earth? And that's it over there. Very difficult paraphrase. That's the Earth globe. Dimming means, to dim means to have less light, to get less light. But I think it's quite straightforward. You can just choose clouds. You were looking for either countable, plural, or uncountable. Right, we want to fix strong something to Greenland ice sheets to prevent icebergs moving into the sea. I think we need to really focus on that word, on the verb, and see if we can find a synonym for that verb. So we're in this sentence over here. This also tells you it's a new topic, and then this linking language tells you that this is a new topic. So they're only dealing with this topic in one sentence. Preserve the ice sheets with reinforced high tension cables, preventing icebergs from moving into the sea. So it's none of this because we have that in the question. So it's somewhere there. Greenland ice sheets is in the question. So really, what's left? This is just introduction. What's left? Reinforced high tension cables. Keep the noun, to throw away the adjectives if you only have one word, cables. Plant trees in the Arctic to lose their leaves, allow the something to reflect radiation. Could be countable, could be uncountable, could be anything. Let's find the reflect. So we're in these sentences over here, but it's so simple. There's reflect. What is reflecting? The radiation is reflected by the snow. It's really strange for reading 3. This is a reading 1, it's not a reading 3. I hope you get this in your test, it would be wonderful. Change the direction of something. Why? To bring more cold water. Change the direction of. Increase cold water, bring more cold water. You need to find a change direction, and it's actually this word. Route is a good word to know, R-O-U-T-E. It means the way that something goes, the route that you go to work, or you can say the route that a river takes. But rerouting means change the route. We're changing the route of what? We're changing the route of rivers. Alright, that was just way too easy for a reading 3. I'm very surprised. You can actually get all of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. Let's move on to the match the statements question. Okay, let's look at this matching statements. This can actually be fairly easy question type if you can find the statements. The way that IELTS will make it difficult is that they will do some really difficult paraphrase and synonyms. That's how they make it difficult. But the first step is not too bad. First step is fine, is your scanning. Now, what will you scan for? Will you scan for these? Or will you scan for these names? Of course you're going to scan for the names. Sometimes the names will be here and the paraphrase will be in the box. Doesn't matter. Scan for the names. So let's go and find them. You must start at the beginning. And one thing that you should be looking for, so for example, we find Angel over there, but I want you to notice this. This is very important. They introduce him with where he comes from or what his job is. Maybe something else, what place he works for. Why is it important? Because it tells you that it's the first time that they mention him here. That means that There's nothing about angel, Roger, angel over here. So you don't need to look there for it. Here is the first time. So I don't know if you remember, if you've done Cambridge 12, there is a very nice example of this question type in the reading called Risks Agriculture Faces. So do that one as well if you want some practice. You just need to find out what he said. This is not really what he said. It's just talking about his scheme, his idea, and how the idea works. This is the kind of language that you're looking for. He argues, he says, he states, that sort of thing, according to, all of that. So we're going to be looking at that. Then we've worked with this. There's nothing about any of these names here or here or here, but then they start talking about them again over here. So there he is over again. And they always do this. At least one of these names will be somewhere twice in the passage. So angel is there again. There is Rash. We know that it's the first time they mention Rash because they say where he works. Again, look for these. These are inverted commas. They show speech. There's Rash again. There's Lunt. That's the first time they mention Lunt. There's Lunt again. He's talking about angel, but this is not what angel says. This is what Lunt says. And there is Sommerkorn. So we've got angel, Rash, Rash, Lunt, Lunt, Sommerkorn, and angel up here. Now you don't need to start with the first one. What I would do actually, if you look at these, Sommerkorn is right at the end. It's only this sentence that Sommerkorn says. There's nothing before about Sommerkorn. We know that because they say where he works. So I would try and solve this one first. Human-induced climate change has brought humanity to a position where we shouldn't exclude thinking thoroughly about this topic and its possibilities. So the heart of this is really we shouldn't exclude. It means we should include. It means we should. It's a double negative that they use sometimes in English. So something about we should what? What should we do? Think about it thoroughly. Thoroughly just means a lot. Think about it deeply. We should think about it a lot. The effects not long lasting, no. It's a topic worth exploring. There we go, yes. Limit the effectiveness. I don't see anything about that. And non-fossil based fuels, no. So this is quite a difficult paraphrase, but this is a very nice word for you to learn in English. It's worth it. It is worth doing it. It means you will get some value if you're doing it. You can say, wow, that phone is very expensive, but you get many features from it. It's a great phone, so it's worth it. It's worth the price. A nice word to learn. Use it in your speaking as well. All right, anyway, so we're saying we should. This means it's worth it, means we should. Exploring means thinking about it, researching it, investigating it, all of that, thinking about it. So that one wasn't too bad just because we only had one sentence there. And we couldn't delete these other ones. So 38 is D. Right, which one should we do next? I don't really know. There's no real easy one to see, so we need to start at the beginning here. There's just one sentence over here. Reduce the amount of light reaching the Earth by 2%. Now they can't really paraphrase 2%, so we should find that if it's there. Reduce light 2%. Not long lasting. Maybe that you can think about reduce, not long, but I don't see light, I don't see 2%, I don't see light, I don't see 2%, and I don't see light, I don't see 2%. It's not there. You would need to see something about 2%. So anyway, we can ignore all that, we need to go over here. Now, there's only one more thing that angel says, and that's this. So this must be there somewhere. No substitute for developing renewable energy. Renewable energy is the only permanent solution. If you see this, then this is talking about this. So we want renewable energy. There's no substitute. Not long lasting? No, I don't see anything about long lasting. Limit the effectiveness? No. Renewable energy, non-fossil based fuels cannot be replaced. no substitute. To replace something, to substitute something, synonyms. So there we go. Fossil-based fuels is carbon-based fuels such as oil and gas and coal. Non-fossil based fuels is non-carbon fuels, which are renewable fuels such as solar power and wind energy and that sort of thing. Right, so I'm quite happy that this was Angel. Easy ones first, remember. Alright, now Rash says 2 things, Lunt says 2 things. So now it's probably going to get a bit more difficult. He says this first of all, and then he says this. So it's one of these two. I think we would agree if we were to end geoengineering, the planet would return to this condition quickly, within 10 to 20 years. That's something about time. Return to its first condition quickly. Something about time. And there is something about time. It won't last long. Not long lasting. Long lasting means slow. So it's not slow. So it's quick. But let's just check. Inject this would attract the planet, act to increase sea ice, but the model suggests impact on the distribution of precipitation. It's a good word to know. Precipitation is a nice word for rain and snow, anything to do with water that comes from the air. Anyway, so that wasn't it. I'm quite happy about that. Long lasting, not long lasting, and rapidly. It's difficult, I know, so let's just check. Let's just see if we can see what Lunt says. Another risk, overshoot, risk. Yeah, it was very difficult. He's talking about how warm and how cool the different parts of the earth would be. Remember, this is the poles. This is North Pole, South Pole. Tropics is tropical areas along the middle of the earth. Then he says the project would have to operate at half strength. The best option is to avoid geoengineering altogether. Wow, very difficult. So you're pushed for time here. I'm happy about this. It's close enough. There's something about long lasting, about 10 to 20 years. So I'm going to go with, who was it? Rash. Yes. Rash is B. And that means that this one will be Lunt. Could they take 2 and ignore one of these? They can do it. Very often they will have 5 or 6 questions and only 4 over here. But if there's 4 and 4, it'll probably be 1-to-1. If you push for time, you don't have time to worry about that sort of thing. Just go for Lunt. So let me just show you where it is. He said, necessary to limit the effectiveness. And have to is necessary. Operate at half strength is to limit it. Very difficult paraphrase. Anyway, so you could get 2 quite easily, and then you could kind of guess the other 2. It wasn't such a bad question type. They did some really difficult paraphrase. Right, let's move on to the last one. Right, now this is super difficult. These matching information, sometimes it's impossible. It's reading 3, so I'm expecting this to be very difficult. But there is some strategy you can employ. Read them, all 3 of them, and this is very interesting for me. A definition. Where are they going to put a definition? They're going to say, what is geoengineering? I don't know what geoengineering is. A native speaker doesn't know. So he needs to tell us what it is. But the whole passage is about geoengineering. So will he put the definition at the end? Of course not. He will put it at the beginning. Another thing to see is that we've used this for that other question type. We've used this. We've used all of this up to there. So we've used all of that for questions. So they're going to choose something from A and maybe even from the beginning of B. But of course, the definition is going to be right at the beginning. Now remember, I've told you in Cambridge 12 how important definitions are. We made this little list in Cambridge 12, new terms and their definitions. IELTS loves these, all right, and they love to ask questions about these. He introduces a new term, a new word, and he tells you what it means. Often they use a dash to introduce the new term. You will see many examples like that in Cambridge 12. Also, this kind of language refers to. Here we've got known as, called, termed, so we can actually add another one. Refers to, a way of introducing the definition. So here we have our new term, geoengineering. Here we have our definition. So there's the definition of geoengineering, and that will be paragraph A. Right, now it's the last two. Really, you're out of time. You just got to go really fast, try and guess. What strategy can you use? I would say look at the first sentences. That might help you, give you some clues. And actually, in this case, it does. A project based on an earlier natural phenomenon. What do you think they will use as natural phenomenons? What is a natural phenomenon? A storm, an earthquake, a volcano, a rainbow, many kinds of natural phenomenons. And an example, successful use, a time when they used this geoengineering successfully. Now it's just up to you. You have to scan. Unfortunately, I can't give you any other strategy for this, just about scanning. The strategy is to know what you're looking for. So we look at the first sentences, and actually this one helps us a bit. Successful use, it has been shown to work. It was successful. If something works, it means it's successful. So the example was over there when they use ice to make the clouds go away. Very difficult. Don't worry if you don't get that one. And then finally, now you're scanning for a natural phenomenon. No easy way of doing this. The only strategy is scan, 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 scan. The natural phenomenon actually was a volcano. You could also have scanned for something about earlier. And that's our word for earlier. Something in history. Historic volcanic explosions, earlier natural phenomenon. No easy way to find that. Just scan. But you needed to know what you're looking for. And there we go. All right. Actually, for reading 3, that wasn't so bad, this whole thing, because we got some very nice ones over here. Great. Thank you very much.